Welcome, my name is Isabel Buckley and I'm the artist behind Izzy's art. Today you can watch how I draw a tiger's nose in coloured pencils in this time lapse. Enjoy! When drawing a tiger's nose, I like to get down a base layer of the lightest colour of the pinky fleshy part first. For this one I started with a Luminance burnt sienna 10%. I then wanted to map in where the darkest areas were in the nostrils using a Payne's Grey 60 so I could build up both areas of tonal value at the same time, being careful to work around those overlapping bits of hair at the top. When working up that pinky fleshy bit, there are also oranges within there, so I like to switch between pinky and orangey tones in my layers. To get the tonal values right in this area, it is important to get in those darkest areas built up early on. When creating those blackest areas, I like to include a range of colours such as dark blues and purples. Building up those pinky tones, I work from light to dark with my colours, and I like the muted pinky tones of the burnt sienna range in the Luminance set. In the bottom of the nose, there is also more red and purple tones, as well as at the very top underneath those hairs. I continued to work up my layers using some of my previous colours, and I added some white to lighten the brightest areas of the nose, with some final layers just to really darken up those nostrils. Using a Tombow mono eraser is a good way of lifting out some lighter areas and highlights. The bottom of the nostrils are a lighter grey and where the light is catching, so I used some Payne's Grey 30, 60 and some white. I then moved on to working on the hair above the nose. I started with a base coat of burnt ochre 50% and marked in that darker marking so that I could build them up together. When working on the fur around the nose, I found it easier to break it down into sections. Within this left section there is a mix of red and purple tones within those orangey browns. The section directly above the nose is lighter in tone, so I started with a lighter base layer of brown ochre 10%. There is also some pinky tones going on here, so I followed the base layer with some burnt sienna 10%. Once these base layers were done, I started to build up some of the little darker areas of hair that are in shadow, continuing to use some of those pinky colours as well as some of the purples such as violet grey and light aubergine. Before adding some more layers to really build up to get that smooth hair texture that we've got going on in this area. The Tombow mono eraser was also useful to have to lift out some of the bits of hair before softening them with the pinky and purpley colours that I had previously used. I then moved on to work up the top right section in the same way that I did on the left to keep them balanced. I also added a little bit more of the burnt ochre to each side to intensify the colour some more and just make them stand out. And then I went back into that middle top section to add a few tweaks because I wanted to make sure that the whole thing worked together. When working on the bottom sections, there is obviously a lot of white hair, but there are lots of different colours that can be found within those white sections. But first I wanted to make sure I'd put down the whitest highlights. I then plotted in when those dark markings are using a Payne's Grey 60, just so I didn't lose them, and to help start to build up those darker tonal values, just in the same way that we did with the nose. I said the white fur had more colours in than just white, so I added some burnt sienna 10% as well as some Payne's Grey. And you can also see I've added in some purples and some browns within those dark markings there as well, just to make them more vibrant. The Tombow was being used as well to lift out those white highlights and to clean up those whiskers a little bit before going back in for the final tweaks to kind of bring it all together. It's also really important at this stage to consider your darkest and lightest areas to make sure that you've got the contrast right. I then did the other side in exactly the same way so they matched, starting with the white for those highlights, then plotting in those markings with the Payne's Grey 60. Gradually building up light layers helps to create the fur texture using some subtle shades in those lighter areas and then some nice deep colours for those darker areas. I finished this section off by really making sure I'd got a good contrast in tonal values between those darkest and lightest areas. To complete the picture, I went back into the light bits, catching the light at the bottom of the nose as I felt they were a little bit dark, and I used some pearl burnish for this. I really hope you enjoyed watching this time lapse. If you want to watch it in real time with voiceover, then you can, as part of my new Learn to Draw Tigers in Coloured Pencil course starting at the beginning of December 2021. It will be an opportunity to learn with me through real-time videos with lots of studies of the different parts of a tiger, finishing with completing your very own full picture of one. But that's not all. There will be live demos and question and answers with me, a Facebook group and the opportunity for video feedback about your work. So if you are looking to develop your colour pencil skills further, then sign up to my newsletter to be the first to hear about it when it's released very shortly. The link is in my description below. Happy drawing! Bye for now!